I think the weaponization of AI is the biggest danger. I warned you guys in 1984.
Well, hello, and welcome to part 3 of the James Cameron 4K saga, as contained within the series Cameron King of the World Special Edition. Well then, that last part sure made a stir, didn't it? That for me, for my kind of level, which is just down here, in the corner, down in the bottom of YouTube land. That was pretty viral, it was like 7,000 views, something like that. So I came on camera to talk about the Terminator 4K release and how we got the great news that it was going to be restored by the wonderful people at Park Road Post. So yes, the transfer for James Cameron's Terminator 1984 classic would be and will be, no doubt, kind of an AI mess. Now, will it be slop like True Lies? Probably not. Will it be as problematic as Aliens? Maybe not. It might be on the better end of the scale, but it's certainly still going to be covered with a layer of fake artificial detail as guessed by a computer. The AI upscaling part. We've been through all that. We talked about it. You can go check it out if you didn't see my thoughts on it. And, a lot of interesting thoughts on the video. There was a lot of, you need to grow up. And I even had a tongue-in-cheek, well, I'm assuming it's tongue-in-cheek, get out your mum's basement comment. We'll get there. So the big news is that James Cameron is aware. Oh, yes. You tell me that Sly is aware that we're doing this right now? If you get that reference, well done. If you don't, you probably don't need to know. But yes, Cameron is aware of the 4K controversy. Or is he? We'll get to that. So, clickbait over, James Cameron has responded to my criticisms of his 4K releases. Yeah, no. But I would say that the idea that James Cameron has responded to my criticisms of his 4K releases is mental, ridiculous, but not entirely ridiculous, maybe 98% ridiculous. The tweet that I put out last year when it first became apparent that True Lies was a disaster of uncanny, proportions, that tweet went viral. Hundreds of thousands of people saw it. Again, for me, it went viral, but articles on movie websites were written around this tweet that I'd made and the image comparison that I showed, which wasn't even my image comparison. I just shared it to express my dismay and to state that the man has lost his fucking mind. Is it within the realms of possibility that James Cameron has seen my tweet where I said the man has absolutely lost his fucking mind with the two comparisons of True Lies? It's possible. I highly doubt it. I probably actually bet money that he hasn't seen that. And I actually think there's a lot of credence to the theory that when Cameron recently addressed the 4K criticisms, I think he was actually, and some people think this too, and I agree with them, I should say, that he might even be thinking back as far as the Terminator 2 Blu-ray and 4K releases, and he even may be thinking as far back as when Aliens came out on Blu-ray, almost 15 years ago. Because there was criticisms there that there had been some grain removal and artificial grain added back in and stuff. And, I recently rewatched Aliens on Blu-ray and I still think it looks great. I'm aware that some of the grain has been taken away and stuff, but it's not one of the bad ones for me. I wish it looked grainy as hell and it was like a proper, untampered with restoration, but, I think it still looks pretty damn good. The 4K, again, I still think if that ends up in my collection someday, it's not me and I've been replaced by a synthetic. Wait, Luke has Aliens on 4K. He bought the damn thing. Something's not right. Send someone to the house. Wait, he's sweating some white substance from his forehead. It's all the telltale clues. No, I just I hate the Aliens 4K. I have seen it, and not in its entirety. I've watched sections in just befuddlement, at how weird it looks. And we talked about that, and I've even shown examples, and there's all sorts of things that go along with that. This is part of the whole journey, but I did want to address Cameron's comments, and I've been inundated with people saying, "Did you see what Cameron said? Did you see what Cameron said? What do you think about what Cameron said?" And I'm like, "Okay, just calm down, guys. Okay, I'll get to you all in an orderly fashion." Okay, so I'm finally doing it now, and of course, when I say I was inundated, I mean I think 2 people commented it. So yeah, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. And also, it's funny because the last video where I talked about the Terminator in 4K. The comments were mixed, you know, some people agreeing, some people disagreeing. The whole mono audio thing, holy fucking shit, you guys love the mono audio. I grew up with the Terminator on video, you know, on VHS, and then the special edition DVD I got in like the early 2000s, I think, but I've never really watched the Blu-ray and been like, I can't believe it's not the mono audio, you know, it's not been a thing, but I get it. If that's your thing, I get it. For me, the visual side of it is my thing, so hopefully people get that. And some people do, some people don't. But it was a healthy mix, you know. But if I'd known that 7,000 people were going to watch that video, again, relative to me, that's quite a high view count. I probably wouldn't have opened the video with like 90 seconds of me saying nothing and acting all exasperated and stuff, because I sometimes forget that other people watch my videos, and by other people I mean people who don't regularly watch my videos, and so I kind of get a bit too lenient with myself, I guess, and I kind of get a bit too loose, and you know, because I like to think that my regular viewers kind of get my humor, or at least tolerate it, and think, oh, he's doing one of his bits again, you know. So I probably would have been a bit more formal if I'd known there were going to be a lot more eyes on the video. I don't think this video will blow up to that proportion, thankfully, but at the same time, you know, if there's any returning viewers, you know, some of it's in jest, but not all of it. The passion in which I have about this particular topic and the 4K transfers is very much real, but I don't really lose sleep over it. And the whole mom's basement thing is kind of funny. And again, we'll talk about it. So Cameron was interviewed in the Hollywood Reporter, I believe, and the topic came to, someone asked him about it, the revisionism of his 4K releases and what he thinks about that and the fan backlash. So let's read through all of it in its entirety, and I will kind of I'll break it down for you as we go. This is Cameron. When people start reviewing your grain structure, they need to move out of mom's basement and meet somebody, right? I'm serious. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Now, I think the whole mom's basement thing is kind of cute, you know. It's a shorthand for they need to get a life. It's shorthand for these people should be old enough to have other interests than, you know, again, the grain structure of his movies. And I do think that some people get really, like, insanely anal about it, down to, like, the finest grain detail. And I'm not that bad, but I'm still pretty bad, I think. I do get kind of twitchy, you know. The old models can be a bit twitchy. And I get a bit kind of, you know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way if things, I don't know. I'm particular, I guess I should say. But I get where he's coming from, you know what I mean? Like, you've made a film, you're a filmmaker. It's a whole other world, it's a whole other perspective. And when people are saying that the Blu-ray of your film, the grain structure is not to their liking, I think on the surface it does come across as a bit ridiculous. But I also think that it's a bit disingenuous if he really believes that's the issue, because it's not really the grain structure. Because in most cases there is no grain structure, because he's wiped it all, as my good friend Zaron Isaac once said many years ago. But it's, you know, it's a bit more than that, especially with this AI upscaling, because to me it's disingenuous as well, because it's literally, you know, it's being sold as a 4K product. It's not a 4K product, at least in the case of Aliens and True Lies, where in Aliens we have definitive proof that they just used the old 2K master and upscaled it using AI technology. It is not a true 4K. And I guess they can say, well, it's 4K resolution. You know, it's on a 4K disc, but it isn't a 4K representation of what the original negative was. Or even taken from a source of an original negative and then fucked around with. It literally is just, you know, just press the AI. And I'm sure there's more to it than just pressing an AI button. Again, I'm being facetious, but it just feels like a cost-cutting measure, really. Anyway, so carrying on with his quotes. And I'll kind of go back a bit so we can kind of get into the flow of it. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? I've got a great team that does the transfers. I do all the color and density work. I look at every shot, every... And that is why I would never be an actor, because that wasn't a very convincing laugh. But I do find it hilarious. I do find it hilarious. Right? There's a there's a genuine laugh for you. I do find it hilarious that oh god, I've lost myself on the quote now. I do find it hilarious that he says, "I look at every shot, every frame." Do you? Do you really? Do you actually look at every shot and frame? Bullshit. And if you do, again, you've lost your fucking mind. I'm sorry. All due respect to him. And I would say it to his face. I wouldn't want to, but I've said this before, the Peter Jackson thing. Like, if he was in front of me and we were sat down and we were having a conversation, I would say, you've lost your fucking mind. I wouldn't go up to him in the street and say, hey, you've lost your fucking mind. No, because that's just as awkward, But if I was ever in a situation, which I never will be, to have a conversation with James Cameron, I would say, dude, you're off your fucking trolley. Like, they look terrible, But again, just hear me out on this, because we're going to get into some interesting areas in a second. I look at every shot, every frame, and then the final transfer is done by a guy who's been with me for years. All the Avatar films are done that way. Everything is done that way. Get a life, people. Seriously. End quote. Now, I kind of wish he'd gone a bit more scorched earth with it. I wish he'd really just gone for the jugular. You know what I mean? It's a bit tame. I guess he's kind of mellowing out in his old age, and I'm not even being sarcastic. Like, I wish he'd gone hardcore on it. But, so he has a guy. I wonder who this guy is who does all the transfers. Now, he says that all the Avatar films are done that way. No, they're not. And that leads me to believe that he doesn't really understand what the issue is. And I wonder if he even knows the extent of the artifacting and the weird shit that comes out of the AI upscaling module, algorithm that Park Road Post actually use. And I wonder if he even gets up close to see some of those details. Or whether it's just, wow, it looks so much sharper and cleaner, no grain. I feel like it's the new girlfriend syndrome. He can't tell that, that the teeth are all fucked up because he's just looking at the tits. It's a terrible analogy, I'm sorry. But I just feel like, I feel like he's been wowed by the technology without really seeing what it does. And to say that, well, this is how all the Avatar films are done. Well, no, because they don't get upscale. Although they did use the AI upscale on the Avatar Blu-ray, or 4K, I should say. And again, that'll be part of down the road. I'll talk about that, because I have the Avatar, Way of Water, and True Lies 4Ks to still to review. I still can't find I can't find the willpower to actually sit down and talk about how awful the 4K disc of True Lies is. But I feel like he doesn't understand. I feel like he just doesn't get it. Based on that quote, I feel like he's not understanding what the issue is. And I also feel like, for me, it's more the principle of it, and it's more the idea that what you're seeing is the film as it was, with a layer of detail over the top of it that's been painted on essentially digitally, that wasn't there to begin with. It's one thing to remove the grain and change the look of the image, but now you're adding stuff back into it with the AI process, and I just feel like it shouldn't really be done. But I have always said it's his right to do it. And it's my right to think it's fucking crazy, right? And to think it's stupid and to hate it, but it's his right, it's his films, So at no point would I say there is a moral obligation from the filmmaker to preserve and present the films as they were originally seen in the cinema. I don't feel like fans should have an ownership over that. It's his vision, it's his thing. I just really don't like it. Now, there was another quote from Gail Ann Hurd, who was Cameron's wife when he made, well, I'm not sure when they got married exactly, but they were partners when he made the Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss. I can't remember when they were married, around that point in the 80s, and I think they separated around the time of The Abyss. Maybe even shortly before, because I feel like The Abyss is largely in part about his divorce from Gail Ann Hurd. But she's a very successful, prolific producer and still, thinks and talks very, very highly of James Cameron. And she was asked about this. So here's a quote from Gail Ann Hurd, a bit lengthier here. So she says, "Let all those critics make their own movies, and they can restore them as they see fit. That's my opinion. Jim, in every possible meaning of the word auteur, is an auteur. And whatever version he wants to release, everyone should be fine with. It's his film." I agree. I completely agree. I still think I can have an opinion on it. Just because I haven't made movies doesn't mean I should have an opinion on it. But yeah, it's different. That you can have an opinion of saying I think that sucks. You can have an opinion of I think that sucks and I know better. So there's a fine line there, I think. She goes on to say, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Absolutely. There you go. See, so she gets it. Everyone can have their opinion on it. We made the movie for the fans, not for the critics, even though we did get some lovely reviews. And so they're absolutely entitled to their opinion, but, Jim's entitled creatively to do it absolutely how he sees fit. It's his creation. I agree. I think that's a much better way of putting it. Maybe he could have done that. See, people get, I don't know. I mean, the people who love the 4K discs and love all the fancy sharpening and everything, they look to the Cameron comment about get out of your mom's basement, and they're like, yes, Cameron, and then there's people who are in my camp and they get kind of offended by it and feel like he's attacking them. I don't take it personally. I don't feel that bothered by it. It's just funny to me, that he goes to the mom's basement thing. But I also think, like, I get it. Like I say, I understand the shorthand of, these people should get a life. But I genuinely believe he doesn't understand what the issue is. And if he does, I don't think he knows that we know what it is, and in his mind, it's not an issue, it's a feature, so it's a bit different. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, his comments are interesting, but I do think that he may even be thinking of when people are complaining about either the Aliens Blu-ray 14 years ago or the Terminator 2 kind of reimaginings and the 4K release, which was smoothed over like a motherfucker and just looked so weird. That's another one I don't own. So, yeah, I agree in that it's his films. He can do what he wants with them. I just don't like what that is and what it entails and what it gives as a final product at the end of the day. And the Terminator I have no hopes for because he's involved and Park Road Poster involved. It's it's the double whammy. So that it's gonna look strange and trying to look modern when again the character of that film is the graininess, it is the photography, and I feel for some of the cinematographers maybe who have made films and then that work that they put in gets changed and altered and the color gets changed and the integrity of the image gets changed, the grain gets removed, the detail gets kind of scrubbed down, and then new detail gets added on top of it. I just don't think it's necessary when you have the option of all the detail to begin with. And it's just crazy because the whole DNR thing, the digital noise reduction, that was a whole crusade for a lot of people. And again, I don't like DNR either. But it's a whole other step in the process now that removes us even further from what a film originally looked like. And I think that's a shame that it happens. Now, I can't remember if I talked about it before in the past two videos, but my general feeling is that we can now almost only trust the boutique labels to do 4K releases right. You look at companies like Sever and Vinegar Syndrome, and they're like putting out 4K releases of like these B movies, C movies, and going to the original negatives themselves and just scanning in all that detail and presenting it in all its glory. And I feel like they're the companies we can trust. Now, when a studio release comes around, it's a 4K of whatever big movie it is, you think, oh, well, what have they used AI? Is it a real 4K? Is it just an upscale? And, And that's a whole other topic with a lot of the studio upscales, which, they had 2K DIs for and digital intermediate, and they just thought, well, we're not going to put all the effort in to scan the film again, so we'll just up-res the 2K DI. And in that case, it isn't a process which, is adding in all this stuff with AI. It's more of a, bumping up the resolution and maybe improving the bit rate over the 1080p, standard Blu-ray. I don't know too much about that process, but I know that it's not the process that we see from Peter Jackson's films, from Cameron's films, and the work that Park Road Post does. But I have an interesting follow-up to this, more of an adjacent video to this, so keep an eye out for that, where I'll be talking about a boutique labeled Blu-ray that I recently picked up from Korea, which was 4K, one of my all-time favorite films, and it ended up being an AI upscale. But I reached out to the company, sent them an email. They sent me a very detailed response. I'll be talking about that, and also talking about a different kind of way in which this AI technology is being used, and whether it might be good or maybe still bad. So look out for that. I'll be putting that video up very soon on my channel. You should be able to find it. But otherwise, for the Cameron 4K saga, he's had his word, and, we'll start to hear more about the Terminator 4K. I think the pre-orders are going up now for that release, and I think Warner Brothers is handling it actually, which is a shame, because Warner Brothers, traditionally put out great 4K releases. I'm thinking of, I think Home Alone was a Warner Brothers, and that's a really good one. Like Gremlins is a great one, and there was a Beetlejuice. I love the Beetlejuice one. Batman, I think, is a great 4K, but there's been revisions with that too in terms of the color, and then sound effects change. I don't like that. I just don't like the revisionism stuff, But otherwise, Warner Brothers, have a good track record with 4K stuff. I'll leave that in for free. But it's funny that they're releasing this, and it won't reflect well on them as far as I'm concerned. But it's Cameron. Cameron's gonna Cameron, right? But yeah, it's weird the comment he said about, I have a guy who does this. It's like all the Avatar films, because they're new movies which are being shot digitally in 4K and all this stuff. So there is no upscaling, and again, I feel like he just doesn't get the issue. So I think that's where some of that dissonance comes from his statement. Get a life, check. Get out of your mom's basement, check. It's just like the Avatar movies, which what? And I go through every shot, every frame. Really? You thought that looked good? It's just, man, maybe he's just spent too much time with the 3D goggles on. I'll leave that in for free too. I'm getting all tongue-tied. Maybe he spent too much time with all those 3D goggles on while making Avatar, and it's kind of thrown off his depth perception. I don't know. Anyway, so that's that for now. I will try to get the videos done for the Avatar and Avatar Way of Water 4K releases, and maybe I'll get to True Lies. But there'll be some news out with the Terminator, and we'll start seeing some screen comparisons, and I'm sure they will be disappointing at the very least. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.